Hi everyone, I'm Steve from the Oasis side, and today we're looking at the final chapter of 2 Thessalonians. Paul's readers are people who are being persecuted for their faith, and some of them have also taken on misunderstandings about the return of Jesus. And I think a phrase that sums up what Paul is saying to them is really keep calm and carry on. Keep calm because God is with you, and carry on with what he has called you to do. And so much of the Christian life is this mixture of God's activity and our obedience, God's sovereignty and our responsibility. We need both. If it's all and only about our responsibility, we get burnt out, we get legalistic. And if it's all and only about his sovereignty, we can get passive or lazy. So let's look at what it means to keep calm, especially in the midst of tough circumstances. I would imagine the fear that the Thessalonians had was an understandable fear. But God hasn't left this church alone or without help. Verse 3 says this, "But the Lord is faithful. He will establish you and guard you against the evil one." And the word establish or strengthen refers probably to having a peace and a security in our inner battles of heart and mind. God will not always deliver us from tough circumstances, but as we look to him, he will always guard us from the devil having the victory in our lives. So how do we access this rich provision and protection from God? That's important because in the heat of the battle, we can get so distracted and our hearts fail us for fear, anxiety, or despair. And that was possibly true for the Thessalonians. So Paul prays for them. And in verse 5, he says this, "May the Lord direct your hearts to the love of God and to the steadfastness of Christ." God wants to help us in our wills, in our minds, and in our motivation. And focusing on his unconditional love for us and Jesus' endurance for us, particularly seen in going through the cross and all that he experienced on our behalf. Focusing on those things helps us to keep calm. So let's look at carrying on. If keeping calm is about focusing on God's activity, his provision, his protection, his help, his faithfulness, carrying on is allowing the inner strength and security that brings to result in faith-filled activity. These verses identify a number of areas where we can carry on. Here are just two of them. Firstly, carry on praying. Paul asks the believers to pray for him. He asks them to pray that the word of the Lord may speed ahead. And he asks them to pray that will happen without constant enemy interference. Now, because we know we're always in a battle, we may forget to pray for deliverance from any enemy interference and deliverance from evil. But we are encouraged to do that here. It's probably only when we get to heaven that we'll realize how much God has protected us from in answer to prayer. This is a key time for our city and our nation. And without prayer, we will accomplish nothing. So do carry on by praying personally, getting involved in your site prayer initiatives in a fresh way perhaps, and in our church-wide prayer gatherings, of course. And then finally, carry on working. It appears that because some believed the return of Jesus was imminent or in the process of happening, they'd stopped their jobs. They were effectively loafing around, waiting for something to happen, and probably out of boredom, starting getting inappropriately involved in other people's matters. Paul calls them busybodies. Furthermore, they were then cheekily looking for the church to provide food handouts. Well, Paul commands them strongly to get back to work and provide for their own food And he counsels the church to distance themselves from such people until they have corrected their ways. You know, sometimes as believers, we can feel the futility of our work lives. Some of you may be feeling that right now as you return to the office or to other workplaces. Know, though, that your workplace is a place of worship for you. You are Jesus' representative and ambassador in that place, and you honor him and as you serve him in that arena. So read the chapter again, or even the whole book. Saturate yourself in and breathe in the grace of Jesus Christ, who will come again, and then keep calm and carry on. God bless you.